steps in muscle contraction. What is muscle contraction? I'll be talking about the physiology of muscle contraction. Muscle contraction is the process that occurs simultaneously in all sarcomeres. And a sarcomere is a structural unit in a striated muscle. For a contraction to occur, there must be first a stimulation of the muscle in the form of an impulse, which is that action potential from a motor neuron. And that motor neuron is the nerve that connects to the muscle. The individual motor neuron plus the muscle fibers it stimulates is called the motor neuron, or the motor unit. The motor end plate, also known as the neuromuscular junction, is a junction of the motor neuron's axon and the muscle fibers it stimulates. When an impulse reaches the muscle fibers of a motor unit, it stimulates a reaction to each sarcomere between the actin and myosin filaments. This reaction results in the start of a contraction and the sliding filament theory. Troponin. Troponin is a complex of 3 proteins that are integral to a muscle contraction. Troponin is attached to the protein tropomyosin with the actin filaments as seen in this image. When the muscle is relaxed, tropomyosin blocks the attachment sites from the myosin and the cross bridges, thus preventing contraction. So a few things can stop a contraction. Number 1 is energy system fatigue. There's no more ATP left in the muscle cell, so it can't keep contracting. Number 2 is the nervous system fatigue. The nervous system is not able to create impulses sufficiently or quickly enough to maintain the stimulus and cause calcium to release. Number 3 is voluntary nervous system control. The nerve that tells the muscles to contract stops sending that signal because the brain tells it to. So no more calcium ions will enter the muscle cell and the contraction stops. And number 4 is sensory nervous system information. An example of this is a sensory neuron, which is the nerve that detects a stimuli such as pain or how heavy something is, provides feedback to the brain indicating that a muscle is injured while you are trying to lift a heavy weight, and consequently the impulse to that muscle telling it to contract is stopped. A muscle twitch is usually divided into 3 phases. The first one being the latent period, the contraction period, and the relaxation period. So the latent period is the time from when the stimulus is delivered to the first indications of contraction of the muscle. Thus brings to the contraction period, or the contraction time, is the time that it takes the muscle to reach its peak contraction after that first latent period. And the relaxation period is the time when the muscle takes to return to resting tension after reaching its peak contraction. So just a quick recap of muscle contraction is an action potential in a motor neuron causes acetylcholine to release into the synaptic cleft. Acetylcholine binds with receptors on the cell membrane of the muscle fiber, also known as or referred to the calcium channels. Calcium is released from the terminal cisternae into the muscle fiber, and then the calcium binds to the troponin, which that troponin shifts tropomyosin, which blocks the active site of the actin. Myosin heads attach to the actin by breaking down the ATP and the ADP and the phosphate via the myosin The myosin head forms a cross bridge on the active site of the actin filament. Then that cross bridge pulls actin, which slides over the myosin, known as the power stroke. The release of the ADP completes the cross bridge movement, and ATP attaches the myosin, breaking the actin-myosin cross bridge. And every time the ATP is split into ADP, the myosin takes place to form another cross bridge with the actin.